Welcome to Discovery! Roll the intro, please.
Hordes of fallen masters, echoes in the deep. Chaos, blood and fury, destruction unleashed. Fire back, no mercy, oblivion awaits. Discovery, 2325 awaits.
Welcome back to another episode of Discovery. We've got another big one this week with some fresh, heavy-hitting releases for the month of April. Now, I know last week I said we'd cover 10 albums, but I only gave you 8. So yeah, my bad on that one. We'll see how many I can get through today. No promises. But there were a few albums this week that really stood out for me. As always, drop your favorite discoveries down in the comments below. What have you been spinning lately? Let's dive in and get this show started. To kick off this week's discovery, we're heading over to Belgium, where Lhaad has just released their third studio album, Beyond, independently on April 19th. Take a listen. This is a dark, desolate black metal record, one that thrives in its cold atmosphere and raw emotion. Each track is titled Beyond, followed by a Roman numeral from 1 to 6, similar in structure to what bands like Magua have done. It gives the album like a ritualistic, unified feel, as if the entire release is one continuous descent into the blackened voids. The guitar tone is icy and raw, but the production remains clean and organic, allowing each instrument to breathe without losing that essential grit. The riffs channel both Norwegian coldness and, dare I say, Swedish precision, creating a soundscape that feels both familiar and refreshing. And there's also a little bit of polished black metal in this, frostbitten but also melodic. Vocally, it's pure black metal, raspy, tortured shrieks that echo through the chaos. There's a real sense of darkness that lingers throughout the album, enhanced by the pummeling percussion you're getting and the hypnotic, bleak melodies. There are 6 tracks in total, Beyond 1 to 6, and the album flows like one continuous journey. Standouts for me include Beyond 1, which opens a record with sweeping fucking melodies and haunting energy. And Beyond 2, where the wall of drums just crushes you under its weight. Beyond 5, I like as well, especially those like atmospheric synths that linger, creating a catchy hook to the song. The closing track, Beyond 6, is a strong, stormy finale that wraps things up with a grim finality. This is a one-man project led by Lekormos, who's also involved in bands like Unatoned and Himmelstormer and the Rituals of the Dead Hand, among others. Clearly a prolific and talented musician. Overall, Beyond is a solid slab of atmospheric, no frills, black metal, and one that fans of the genre will absolutely appreciate. I'm scoring this one a 75%. It's available now on Bandcamp and all major streaming services. Definitely worth checking out if you want something dark and immersive. Next up on Discovery, we're heading over to Brazil, where Morphin has just released a new album, Finding Bliss Amidst the Darkness, released independently on April 19th. Take a listen. This is a full-blown doom metal experience, slow, crushing, and emotionally heavy from beginning to end. The album leans heavily into like funeral doom territory and even melodic death doom, with a blend of monstrous growls, melancholic clean guitars, and occasional clean vocals that aim to bring contrast. While the clean singing during the more atmospheric sections could use some refinement. The growls are commanding and add weight to the album's bleak themes. What makes this album stand out is the structure. It's a long journey, clocking it at just over an hour with only 3 tracks. Each one ranges from 15 to 23 minutes. The songs can feel a bit tedious at times, especially if you're not prepared for that slow fucking burn pacing doom commands. But for those who are patient, there are beautiful, and I mean beautiful and devastating moments scattered throughout. The opener, I Amidst the Darkness, runs a staggering, get this, 23 minutes and opens with slow, ominous chords before unfolding into crushing riffs and cavernous growls. It moves like a glacier, heavy, deliberate, and atmospheric, but just filled with layers.
There is no salvation.
The second track, Bliss, picks up at the tempo slightly at 18 minutes. You got that right, 18 minutes. It's a bit more dynamic, weaving in funeral passages, sorrowful melodies, and emotionally charged transitions between quiet and crushing sections. The final track, No Absolution, clocks in at just under, get this, just 17 minutes, and is arguably the heaviest of the 3. It features more persistent death growls, a darker tone overall, and serves as a powerful closing statement. There's a lingering sense of hopelessness here, but it's executed with intention. The reduction feels really organic, raw enough to feel human, yet clear enough to highlight the emotion in each instrument. Still, there were moments where I felt it could have benefited from a grander, more epic mix to really lift some of the climactic sections. Doom metal has had a fantastic run this month, with standout releases from bands like Tribunal and Red Moon Architect, and Morphin adds to that roster with a respectable, if not slightly flawed entry. While finding Bliss Amidst the Darkness doesn't necessarily push boundaries or the genre forward, the songwriting remains fairly straightforward. It still delivers what Doom fans crave: atmospheric heaviness and emotional depth. It's definitely an album that rewards patience. I'm scoring Morphin's new album a 70%. You can check it out now on Bandcamp and all major streaming platforms. Just check it out. Next up on Discovery, we're heading over to the US, where a band called Panpsychism has just released their debut album, Imperfect, Mortality, released independently. Take a listen. This is a good debut album overall. It leads heavily into death thrash packed with brilliant melodies, hard-hitting hooks, and a strong sense of energy throughout. The songwriting is pretty solid, and while the production is good, it could definitely use a bit more balance. Some instruments occasionally overpower others, but it still gets the job done. Now the album, some standout songs are Reclamation, which is easily one of the standouts. It's got a great groove, doom-laden riffs, and a thrashy pulse running through it. The vocals ride the line between yelling and shouting, almost reminding me, now don't take offense here, of early Slipknot in the vocal delivery, raw and aggressive. It's a fantastic song, running about 8 minutes and sets the tone nicely.
Set free your soul.
Then you've got Manufactured Genocide, a furious death thrasher packed with anger, blazing double kicks and ripping riffs. It's a shorter, sharper blast compared to Reclamation, but keeps the momentum strong. Words Unspoken introduces a bit more of a progressive flair while still maintaining those tight headbanging moments. The riffs here are infectious and the song feels a little more adventurous. Eternalize is another hard-hitting track, delivering straightforward thrash energy with just a slight melodic twist. The Seed of Valiant stands out with another round of catchy riffs and pounding drums, and then the album closes with Serenity Within Silence, a darker, more atmospheric piece that wraps things up on a heavier, more introspective note. Overall, Imperfect Mortality is a solid debut. I do wish some of the songs were slightly longer and given more room to breathe, because at times the ideas feel a bit rushed. At around 30 minutes total, the album never overstays its welcome, but ironically, it also doesn't leave a lasting impression either. While it's enjoyable in the moment, the replay factor isn't particularly strong, at least for me personally. Still, from a critic's perspective, it's a strong effort and the band clearly has potential to grow into something bigger. I'm scoring this one a 65%. Definitely check it out on Bandcamp and all major streaming services if you're craving with some energetic death thrash.
Bring the mass of wealth and knowledge, break deceit. Consequence of sin has come too great to take to that.
Eluveitie, the legendary Swiss folk melodic death metal band, has returned with their 9th studio album Unatoned, for release April 25th through Nuclear Blast Records. Take a listen. This is a good record, and honestly, it already feels like one that's going to grow on me over time. Eluveitie once again masterfully blend folk instrumentation with melodic death metal, balancing heaviness and softness across the album. You'll hear fucking hurdy-gurdies, bagpipes, and other traditional instruments seamlessly woven in the heavier sections, creating the signature Eluveitie sound. The production is tight and full, with each element feeling balanced and clear. No instrument or vocal gets lost in the mix, which is crucial when you're combining such a rich tapestry of sounds. At around 41 minutes, Unatoned isn't overly long, but there's still a lot to unpack. Standout tracks like The Prodigal Ones, and Premonition bring the heavy factor, leaning deep into like straightforward melodic death metal with fantastic growled vocals and lovely angelic female cleans, providing emotional contrast. There's also a progressive flair running throughout many tracks, keeping things dynamic. The self-titled track, Unatoned, leans more heavily into the folk side, delivering a beautiful atmospheric interlude that provides a nice change of pace. Not every song landed for me though. The Harvest and Always One felt a little flat compared to the stronger material. However, tracks like Alwyn, the Aeon of the Crescent Moon, and The Prophecy hit hard with the folk-layered death metal approach, showcasing the emotional depth and energy that Elveitie are known for. That said, this is clearly a grower, not an instant classic. I can already tell that repeat listens will reveal more layers and emotional punch than a first pass suggests. The songwriting is strong. Overall, there are plenty of fun and impactful moments, and the album as a whole leaves a positive impression. For now, I'm scoring on for a solid 70%, but that could very well climb higher after a few more spins. Definitely check it out on Bandcamp and all streaming platforms if you're a fan of folk-infused melodic death metal. Machine Head are back with the 11th studio album Unatoned, released April 25th through Nuclear Blast Records. Take a listen. Honestly, this album surprised me. I'm not usually a big fan of Machine Head's later work. Albums like Catharsis and Of Kingdom and Crown don't really hit for me, but Unatoned feels different. Rob Flynn sounds more aggressive and focused than ever, and this time around the band really nails such a groovy, heavy, and even nu metal sound. The record is filled with crushing riffs, hard-hitting drumming, and Flynn's mix of growls and cleans, which are genuinely strong throughout. I especially Loved his harsh growls. They have a real fire behind them, and even the cleans sound confident and emotional. Now, I don't know what everyone else is saying about this album, and I'm sure there's some hate out there because it's Machine Head, but from my perspective, Unatoned is a very good listen. Now, the first single, Unbound, grabbed me immediately. The chorus hits hard, the riffs are infectious, and it sets a strong tone for the album. Then you've got Atomic Revelations, which leans more into that new metal energy, bringing in that bounce and aggression reminiscent of late 90s heaviness. Tracks like Outsider and the emotional gut punch of Not Long for This World add real weight to the record. These Scars Don't Define Us is like a doom-laden atmospheric crusher. Slow, heavy, and dripping with emotion, which I love. Now the album even takes a left turn with the track Dustmaker, like an electronic instrumental that builds an eerie vibe and adds some breathing room before the chaos resumes. Bone Scraper is another standout, aggressive, heavy, and infectious chorus that definitely channels some Slipknot vibes without sounding like a copy. Bleed Me Dry uses synths cleverly throughout the verses, though the mixing feels a little strange at times. Still, when that chorus hits, Flynn absolutely unleashes, and it's so fucking powerful. Addicted to Pain is a riff-driven monster with roaring guitar solo slicing through the middle of the song. It's headbanging for sure. Finally, the album closes with Scorn, and it's a brilliant closer. The track starts soft and brooding, then it builds in the heavy, emotionally charged finale. Flynn's vocal performance on this one is full of grit and unfeeling.
Strength of the lion, the power I bring. Lost faith in everyone, follow no more. My heroes have...
Overall, Unatoned is a replayable, high-energy album that I thoroughly enjoyed from start to finish. Sure, it might not be the most technical or groundbreaking thing ever. It leans a bit simple at times, but they absolutely nailed the vibe they were going for. This feels like a Machine Head album that will stick around. I'm giving Unatoned a strong 75%. Definitely check it out on all streaming services if you're looking for something heavy, groovy, and surprisingly fresh. Next up on Discovery, we're heading over to the US where Kardashev just released a new album, Alunea, on April 25th through Metal Blade Records. Take a listen. This is a really good album. I enjoyed it from start to finish. It's heavy and hard-hitting, but at the same time ethereal and atmospheric, blending black metal, deathcore, and even touches of post-metal. The production is clean and crisp, but it works perfectly here, letting every layer shine through without losing any of the emotional weight. The album opens with a Precipice, a Door, a powerful atmospheric track that starts with clean soaring vocals before dropping into full-blown aggression with deathcore growls and blackened shrieks. It's a fantastic tone setter. Reunion slows things down, combining heavy riffs with softer cathedral-like clean vocals. The guitar work here is brilliant, layered and immersive, blending post-metal textures with black and death metal heaviness. Seed of the Night tricks you into thinking it'll be another soft moment, but it explodes in the crushing blast beats, black gaze melodies, and high shrieks mixed with death growls. It's honestly one of my favorites on the album, full of energy, darkness, and emotion. Speak Silence continues the ethereal vibe, pairing dreamy melodies with heavy, crushing guitars and a strong blend of cleans and harsh vocals. Truth to Form leans more heavily into deathcore with aggressive riffing that even has a Celtic flair to it. Even has a Celtic flair at times. Finally, the album closes with Below Sun and Soul, a brilliant, hard-hitting blend of deathcore brutality and blackened atmosphere, ending the album on a powerful note. Overall, Alunea is a fantastic modern extreme metal album, blending multiple genres seamlessly without ever losing its identity. I'm scoring this one a strong 80%. Definitely check it out on Bandcamp and all major streaming platforms if you want something heavy, emotional, and atmospheric all in one. An album that really caught me by surprise this week comes from the UK death metal veterans Cancer, who have just released a new album, Inverted World, on April 25th through Peaceful Records. This is their second comeback album, with John Walker back on vocals and leading a brand new band lineup, and honestly is pretty solid. Now of course you're not going to get legendary records like Death Shall Rise or To the Gory End Again, but Inverted World stands firmly on its own, offering a strong blend of old school death metal with a modern twist. The production is very good, crisp but still gritty enough to keep that raw death metal vibe alive. I really enjoyed the 2018 comeback album Shadow Gripped, which was a fun aggressive return. Inverted World, however, feels darker both in tone and melody. John Walker's vocals in particular sounds even more vicious, occasionally bringing in a blackened edge, especially noticeable on Enter the Gates, which is a brilliant track. I love the riffs and searing solos on that one. The title track Inverted World hits hard. It's a punishing, pummeling song that pulls no punches. 39 Bodies brings in that classic old school flavor, full of chunky riffs and grimy energy. Test Site stands out for being a little stranger, reminding me of their Black Faith era with off-kilter vocals and experimental touches. When Killing Isn't Murder drops in a groovy, heavy riff with monstrous vocal performances, while Jesus for Eugenics channels a vocal style bordering on Tom G. Warrior territory, and it works surprisingly well. The album closes with Corrosive, which brings in a bit of an immolation style darkness. The stompy drums here are just fantastic and leave a strong final impression. Overall, this was a really enjoyable death metal album from Cancer. They clearly still have it. They can still write killer, gritty and fun death metal even decades later. While it's not my absolute favorite in the discography and a few songs do blend into each other, the songwriting's solid and the energy is definitely there. I'm scoring Inverted World a strong 80%. Check it out on streaming services if you're looking for a great slab of modern old school death metal.
Stop, it's too late.
And now for the main event of this week's discovery. It's none other than the mighty Hate Forest, who completely surprised me by randomly dropping their brand new album Against All Odds on April 25th through Osmose Productions. Take a listen. Honestly, I had no idea they were even working on a new album. It totally caught me off guard, but in hindsight, it kind of makes sense. Druk, which shares members with Hate Forest, Roman, just released a new album last month, so the timing fits perfectly. Let me tell you, Against All Odds is pure, unfiltered aggression. This might honestly be the heaviest, most relentless record I've ever heard from Hate Forest. They also actually got a real drummer this time, and you can tell. From the very first second, it's a barrage of evil fucking melodies, dark oppressive lead work, and high octane raw black metal that just doesn't let up. There's an overwhelming suffocating quality to this album that I absolutely love. The vocals by Roman, also from Druk, are vicious. He flips effortlessly between signature black metal rasp and these absolutely brutal guttural death growls. His vocal delivery sounds completely unhinged at times, almost feral, and it gives the whole album a terrifying edge. At times it almost sounds like war metal. There's no polish, there's no compromise, just pure hatred and darkness pouring through your headphones or speakers. Their last album, Amidst, was already brilliant in my opinion, but Against All Odds honestly takes it a step further. The songwriting is sharp, straightforward, and absolutely brutal. The drums are pummeling, non-stop double kicks, blast beats and fills that never feel mechanical or overproduced. The drumming's fantastic on this. The guitar work is just as aggressive, layering buzzing walls of riffs that sometimes feel like they're literally crushing your soul. What's impressive is how tight and focused the album feels. It's about 35 minutes long, just as long as this episode, which is the perfect length for something this intense. It never overstays its welcome, leaves its mark and vanishes, leaving you reeling. Now let's talk a little about some of the standout tracks. Werewolves is a monster of an opener. It's a hard-hitting, relentless track filled with guttural growls, sharp riffing, and these unpredictable shifts that keep you completely on edge. The blast beats here are absolutely savage. So good. One Way Ticket is another highlight. It's like standing under a fucking collapsing building of sound. The way the guitars and drums layer over each other creates this unstoppable wall that just crushes you. It's chaotic, overwhelming, and so damn brilliant. What really struck me is that every track feels warranted. There's no filler here. Every song drips with hatred and atmosphere. Even though the tracks might seem similar on the surface, once you dive deeper and listen a few times, you start to hear the subtle shifts in melodies, the difference in vocal tone, and the changing atmospheric textures that set each song apart. Now, my two personal favorites from the album would have to be The Reaping Hand and Courage. Now, The Reaping Hand continues that overwhelming fucking assault, but with a little more depth in the riff layering. It almost feels cinematic in a grim, war-torn kind of way. Courage, what a way to close the album. It brings in those Drake-like soaring melodies, but it's faster, more ferocious, and retains that raw black metal bite. It perfectly blends emotion with aggression, and Roman's vocals on this track are downright demonic. One thing to mention, yes, a lot of the album can sound similar at first glance. If you're casually listening, you might think it's just blast beat after blast beat with no variation, but the more you listen, the more you notice the craftsmanship beneath the chaos. It's in the small melodic changes, the way the vocals shift, the hidden atmosphere behind the aggression. This is definitely an album that gets better with each spin, with each listen. Honestly, Against All Odds was such a surprise to me that I had to restructure this entire week's fucking Discovery episode just so I could make it the main event, and it absolutely deserves it. With that being said, I'm scoring Hate Forest Against All Odds a strong 85%. This is easily one of my favorite black metal releases of the year so far, right alongside Druk's latest offering. It's savage, atmospheric, relentless, and true to the spirit of raw black metal. One thing to note, it's not available on Bandcamp or major streaming services yet, and it will probably never will be, but yet you can find the full album on YouTube, or better yet, support the bands directly by purchasing the physical copy through Osmos Productions. Absolutely brilliant album. Go check it out if you're ready for something that will leave you emotionally and sonically destroyed. Wow, what another big week of Discovery. I can't do any more. We've done 8 albums on this week's Discovery. Look, I've listened to a few more. Maybe I'll mention it on next week's Discovery. So let me know your comment. Let me know what you discovered down below. It's been fun, and I'll see you in the next one.